Again, welcome everyone to our June 14th meeting of the City County Utilities Commission. To begin the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that we had a tragedy happen last Friday at one of our facilities. And I would like to ask that we all take a brief moment of silence, just thinking about all those involved and keeping them in our thoughts. Thank you very much. Ms. Glenn, would you care to call the roll?
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm going to call the roll for June 4th Commission meeting. Chairman Randall Tuttle.
Here.
Vice Chair Wesley Curtis.
Here.
Commissioner Harold Day.
Present.
Commissioner Tom Griffin.
Present.
Commissioner Yvonne Hines.
Here.
Commissioner Hugh Jernigan.
Present.
Commissioner Dwayne Long. Commissioner Chris Parker.
Present.
Commissioner Donald Stewart.
Present.
Commissioner Charles Wilson.
Present.
Commissioner Allen Younger.
Present.
And I'll check for Commissioner Dwayne Long. Is he here yet? Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, everyone. I'm going to keep the agenda item for one more item and then turn it over to Courtney for updates. I'm happy to see Mr. Stewart here. And Mr. Stewart, you're sort of backlit a little bit. You're sort of incognito there, but we see you're here. And I am going to read through agenda item number 1, which is in a resolution of appreciation to Mr. Stewart as he rolls off the commission. And then Don, obviously, sorry we're not here together in person, but if you'd like to say a few things after that. So I'm sorry to ask you all to listen to me read, but I see Marilena here. She's everything has to be read, so I'm going to blame it on the attorneys once again. Agenda item number 1, resolution of appreciation to Mr. Donald R. Stewart. Whereas the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission was founded in June of 1976, and whereas Mr. Stewart has been generous with his time and effort to serve on the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission from June 2003 to June 2008, and from July 2016 to June 2021. And whereas during his tenure, he served as a member of both Planning and Policy and the Operations Committee. Whereas Mr. Stewart's term on the commission ends on June 30th, 2021. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission, a joint agency of the City of Winston-Salem and Forsythe County, that it hereby expresses sincere appreciation to Donald R. Stewart for 10 years of dedicated service given to the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission and to the citizens of Winston-Salem and Forsythe County. Be it further resolved that the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission acknowledges the significant contributions Mr. Stewart has made to the delivery of high-quality services to the citizens of this city and county. Be it further resolved that this resolution is reflected in the minutes of the Winston-Salem County Utility Commission, and a copy of which is furnished to Mr. Stewart. Don, thank you so much for your contributions over 2 terms on this august body.
Well, would you like for me to say my words now or save them for the end?
I'd say go ahead, because at the end everybody's going to be antsy to leave. So I think we would love to hear from you, and invite also any other commissioner to say anything. But go ahead, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. Well, I actually started my first part of the journey in 2003. It's a journey of 21 years I've been working at, and it was a journey that people think I want something for nothing, which is not the case. We need county water up here where I live. One of the big companies in Winston decided they wanted to pollute our area with a landfill of about 6+ acres, 60 to 80 feet deep, put it on top of 2 springs, not lined. And Mr. Jernigan has been grateful enough he came out and he looked at it and he understands, what the situation is. Well, the journey started and we were underway in my first term, and because I didn't go in a political way of voting the right way, my project was squashed. So the water was never received in. But I continued in my journey, and later on, I came on in 2016 to see if we could work out something different. Well, nothing much changed. I have been able to apply for grant money, which the grant money first time would have been accepted, but we went over on the amount of grant. They only would give 2 million, and it went to 2.7 million. So they denied our grant because of that. We applied for another grant, and this time the grant was applied for 1.4 million, which this time they found another reason to deny the grant. But we're still working on the grant. There's still no water. But I say all this because I know the utilities and you people personally are not responsible, but I've learned a lot being part of this commission. I've learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about what people's interests are. And again, I think Hugh knows the situation really well. I mean, if anybody working in the industry for as many years as he did, he could share with you what we have up here. I haven't given up hope. I've been given hope still, but we're going to have to apply for the grant again, which I don't know. Seem more positive, but I mean, this has been, like I say, a 21-year journey. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand the politics. I don't understand it. I do know there's people that are in power that can help. And a lot of people that have gotten nice jobs or puppets on a string, really. That's kind of the way I look at them. They don't want to lose their job to help. But, you know, there's one thing all through all this, when I received my last denial on the grant, I really did a lot of battling and why? And, you know, the good Lord gave me a thought, and it came like this. He says, you remember the parable in the Bible about Lazarus and the rich man? Who wins in the end? So I may or may not ever see water out here. I don't know. I think we all have a little bit of rich man in us. There's a lot of Lazarus we pass by every day. And I just want to leave that thought for people that can help other people if they see the opportunity. Think of who wins in the end. Lazarus does. This journey is short. I'm 70 years old. And it's for a lot of you guys out there, I mean, you're getting close to the end of the journey. So I think we all need to think about that parable, how we help other people and the interest we show in other people. I include myself on that. I'm wealthy in a lot of ways. The only thing I've been wanting is something that you guys take for granted every day, is the water, quality water. And Bill, I've been drinking bottled water, and he kind of condemned it because FDA approves it, and our water, the county water, is better than FDA approved water. So in saying that, I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot about people. I've enjoyed the knowledge I've gained, and I appreciate the support that everybody has given me. And this will probably be, I'd like to have gotten back to a closed session. I mean, not a closed session, but a one in person, but I don't like these Zoom meetings. It's not personal. And I'm a personal person. I like being able to talk to people. But anyway, again, thanks for the nice words. Sometimes action goes a little farther though. And I'm done.
Sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Any other commission members? Have anything?
Thanks, Don. It's been great working with you. I haven't been on here that long. You've been here obviously longer than I have, but the time that I've had with you has been great. We appreciate it. Appreciate your demeanor and your honesty. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to briefly say that, Don, you're always the first person that I see when I walk in the room, when we used to walk in the room over a year ago. And I always appreciated the conversations that we had before the meeting got started, and appreciated the contributions that you offered during our meetings, and you certainly helped me to learn quite a bit in a relatively short amount of time. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Alan.
Hey, Don, it's Chris. I appreciate your many years of service, and we'll, continue to see what we can do to help the people in your area. But I also want to say I still look forward to working with you at the Y. So thank you for your commitment to the Y as well.
The Y has been turned upside down, that's for sure. As a lot of other things. Also, Mike, you live below me now, so you drive by, you drive through my community, you kind of see what our need is. I hope you keep that in mind. But I appreciate the words, nice words, and again, I hope I'm not at the end of not getting water, but if I don't, this journey is not the most important journey.
Don, thank you. Thank you so much. Courtney, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the Utility Commission. Let me first announce the staff that's on the call with us today. So we have Damon Duquesne, Assistant City Manager, Patrice Glenn, Senior Administrative Assistant, Mike Corvisto, Deputy Utilities Director, Michael Stover, Assistant Director of Operations, Shane Chu Huffman, Capital Projects Engineer, Ricky Rubio, Budget Analyst, Todd Lewis, Senior Civil Engineer, Gail Kettler, our PIO, and Larry Bell in Marketing, Lisa Saunders, Chief Financial Officer, Kelly Latham, Deputy Financial Officer, Jerry Bate, Purchasing Director, Marilena Jensen-Guthold, Assistant City Attorney, and Kirk Buerlin, Real Estate Administrator, Takira Westbrook, Office of Business Inclusion and Advancement, and then Heather Curry in the Budget Office. And I think I have everyone covered. So, before we get started, I just want to tell you there's a slight change to our meeting agenda today. We're going to talk about post-operational landfill management. Jeremy O'Brien was going to come and present that to us, but considering what happened on Friday, we are going to postpone that. And Jan is not with us today. She is at the landfill dealing with obviously a lot of follow-up from what happened. So please remember her and others as we kind of go through this situation. So with that, I will go ahead and share my screen, and we'll start with other announcements. Okay, so just an update on our new space, the Bryce A. Stewart building. We are no longer going to be in City Hall. We're going to be in the Bryce Stewart building, which is right across the street, second floor. Our renovations are near complete. They're just finishing some last-minute punch list items. We're probably going to start moving some people into their new office space into this week. Mike Stover is actually already there right now. He couldn't wait any longer, so he went ahead and moved his computer, his setup there. The plan would be to have our July meeting virtual and try to meet in person in August. And what I've been trying to do is follow the City Council's lead, and they're going to try to meet in person in August. So I think the other boards and commissions are taking that same approach. So the August 9th meeting is expected to be in person. Please, after this meeting, let me know soon if you have any issue with that. Chairman Tuttle came this morning and he toured our new office space and our new conference area. And so I think the plan would be to, have lunch available at 12 for those that are interested. Then we'll meet in our new conference room with the meeting starting at 12:30, and then head up to the 5th floor, which is also where the planning board meets. It's a little bit different space. We'll send out more information as it gets closer to time with parking information and exactly where to go. But that is the plan for August.
And so, Courtney, let me add in just that I did really enjoy the visit. I think our team is going to enjoy their new digs, so to speak. Alan, I think, and others are familiar with the planning board meeting space, and that is the room on the 5th floor. But I also realized that the sensitivities of COVID, and would invite any of the commission members to reach out if there's discomfort or concerns. We can always do hybrid meetings as necessary. So, but I do think Courtney and I have conferred a couple of times, and it feels right to follow the city council's lead and all the other departments that have external boards. And so that feels like what most people are doing is beginning in August. Courtney, may I ask if anybody has any questions before you move on to the ARPA? Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. So the American Rescue Plan Act update, just wanted to update you on where we're at. So after our last meeting on May 10th, the U.S. Treasury guidelines came out. And so they're called the interim final rule. We're in the process, the steering committee is in the process of trying to review that 150-page document to see what the funds can be spent on and what they can't be spent on. And so we're in a 60-day comment period. So we're gathering comments that we're going to submit as a city of Winston-Salem, and also in partnership with other entities about, we think something that if we have any questions, if we have any comments about the way the funds can be spent. So we're working on pulling that together. I will tell you that as the rule is written now, utilities, water and sewer cannot, lost revenues would not be eligible for utilities. So that's not an option. Obviously, the money can be used for water and sewer, broadband infrastructure projects, and the rule, as it states now, says any project that could be funded through SRF, which is the state revolving fund loan that we've used in the past on several projects, if it meets that qualification, then it would meet the ARPA money funding requirements. The interim rule also talks about lost revenue. There's a certain way that you have to calculate that. It's calculated based off a calendar year versus our fiscal years that we normally operate under. It also makes you look at the fund as a whole, like the whole city fund versus breaking it up into individual funds. So, for example, if we did really well, or the city did really well with sales tax, even if they lost money, we'll just say at the fairgrounds, if you look at it from the overall perspective, it doesn't show as much lost revenue, even though we know there's certain places where the city did have impact. So we're still trying to figure out all those kind of details and process it before we make a recommendation on how to use that first tranche of money, which the city did receive in the mid-May timeframe. Are there any questions on that?
Courtney, this is Chris. I assume you're talking about the city, but what about the county? What interactions have you had with them about the ARPA money?
So I have had conversations with the county manager, Mr. Watts, and I've been involved in some of the county managers have, I guess it's quarterly meetings. I think they're maybe meeting a little bit more often now, probably monthly virtually, which Dudley Watson, Lee Garrity have asked me to join. And basically, so we're all trying to partner together if there's some projects that are, city and county projects. We're all talking and communicating and collaborating on how that money can be spent. We have talked about some projects to expand sewer service in certain areas. We're just not there yet. I mean, we're just still, it's high-level discussions at this point. Any other questions? Okay. Another announcement is our department will be at the Juneteenth Festival this Saturday, July 19th, from noon until 5 inside the Biotech Place. The city is also, we're observing the Juneteenth holiday, so city offices will be closed this Friday. That's a new holiday for city employees. Next, we're going to do a brief update on the backflow preventer testing program. Many of our customers who have backflows on their connections, whether it's an irrigation connection or a commercial connection, they have a backflow device or they need a backflow device. They've been receiving letters from us. This is part of our new cross-connection control program. The program's always been in place. The policies have always been there, but the enforcement, we're having to make sure that we're enforcing the rules, I guess, in a more strict manner than has been done in the past. So we've talked about this. Many of you have been contacted from customers that have questions about the letters that they have received, and you may have gotten one yourself. We have revised the letter, so to make it a little bit more clear. We've been working on our website to make sure that there's a place where people can go if they have questions, a contact number. So we've been working on all those things. We also want to give you just a little bit more information and educate you a little bit more about the program. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mike Stover, and he's going to go over that.
Thank you, Courtney. Good afternoon, everybody. Just quick update. Our system has approximately 23,000 backflow preventer devices that we're aware of. Each device requires a test report annually. Historically, our staff of 5, and as you may recall, the last couple of budget cycles, we've added a couple positions, have been receiving these reports through email, through fax, hard copies, and it's incredibly difficult to sort through that many on a daily basis, as well as all the other things that they're responsible for. Earlier this year, back probably around January or late 2020, our staff vetted 3 different software vendors that provide the service: BSI Online, Brycer Compliance Engine, Aqua Backflow. We checked references, talked with several other municipalities that use these services, and ended up selecting BSI Online. They're based out of Worth, Illinois. We went live with their software on March 15th of this year. How that process works, we have a list of certified backflow testers that have approved in our system. There's 101 of them. About 40% of that list, so around 40 of those certified testers, were already using the BSI platform and other utilities across the state. So they were already familiar with it. So the owner of the device would call and hire a tester, a certified tester. They would come out there, do the test, and then pay the $12 fee to submit the test electronically to the BSI system. It gives us reporting capabilities, dashboards that historically we have not had, and allows us to have a better electronic path of those documents. In North Carolina, BSI Online has partnered with 18 different utilities, including Raleigh, Durham, Owasso, Orange County Water and Sewer, and Union County, among others. As Courtney said, there was a letter that went out to every backflow device owner, with a testing deadline. And, I think some people may have thrown that away thinking it was a scam. So we went back and revised that letter and working through that as we speak, working through updating our website. And then, if some of those device owners do not get their reports due in time, there'll be a secondary notice that goes out, gives them another opportunity to do so. Are there any questions on this process?
Hey, Mike, it's Chris Parker. So you're saying there's approximately 22,700 devices. Do you know how many of those are currently in the system and have been tested? What percentage?
Do not. There's actually, maybe I should have worded that a little differently. There's 22,700 connections that require a backflow prevention device. We do not have records for all 22,700. We're working through that. We've sent letters out to everybody that should have a device, and our staff's trying to get that list QA/QC'd and make sure we have accurate records to reflect that. Okay, in this process, so you're saying that you sent the letters out, you feel that some of them have been trashed based on, I assume, non-response. Is it a month from receipt of the letter to when they're supposed to respond and have the system inspected if they haven't done so up to this point? Yeah, there was a testing submittal deadline, including those letters. And I checked with Tom McHugh, and he's our ORC over backflow prevention. And if we do not receive a valid test report within 15 days of that deadline, we will send out a secondary overdue notice and go from there. So if you don't send it in that first window, you will have a secondary opportunity to get it completed and submitted. And if you don't do it at that point, what happens?
Yeah.
Our staff will continue to work with our customers. We really don't have many enforcement options. The only enforcement option we do have is to turn the water off, and we don't really want to go that far. So our staff of 5 work with property owners and business owners every day to make sure those requirements are met. And Mike, do you know? Because I know I've been doing this on our commercial systems for quite a number of years. Of these devices that we're aware of, what percentage of them do you think we're actually submitting prior to us getting BSI involved? I don't have an exact number, but it was less than half for sure. Okay. One thing BSI Online will allow us to do, everything's electronic. And one thing they showed us during the demonstrations, you can track your progress and your compliance records over time. So we have a number that we receive manually or through an email over the past year or two, and we can take that, and then every year over the next upcoming several years, we can see how many more that we're receiving and become compliant and track that out. Do you know how much historical data was able to be transferred over? We have a master spreadsheet that our Bill Shipman, he used to manage this group. I think he has around 11,000 in that spreadsheet. And then we knew that there was more than 11,000 connections that should require a device. Any commercial, irrigation, industrial type connection should require a backflow. So we checked Kayenta, our billing records, and reconciled that. And based on Kayenta, there should be about 23,000 connections that should require a device. So we're working through that as we speak.
Mike, I got a question. Harold Day.
Hey, Mr. Day.
What is the chances of somebody's got an irrigation system in the yard and we got pressure on our system at all times? How many chances of us losing pressure and have backflow on irrigation water coming back into our system? That was a question asked by state legislation.
I don't know exactly how to answer your question as far as percentage, but it only takes one incident to cause a real nightmare.
Well, his question was, as long as we got pressure on our system and somebody's irrigating the yard, he just thought it was outrageous. He's going to work on it maybe every 4 to 5 years instead of every year. He said it's outrageous that we got a good system of pressure on it 99.9% of the time, but we can't back pressure something that ain't got no pressure. That's what his question was.
Yeah, and I understand that, and keep in mind that these, the state statutes, the city, resolutions that we have for water distribution, backflow prevention, they've been this way for several years.
Right, that's what he said.
It's nothing new. This is just the reporting component.
You're right. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We'll go on to our financial updates, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike Quivesto.
All right, thank you, Courtney. Good afternoon, Commission members. We'll start by taking a look at the overall solid waste revenues for the current fiscal year, represented by the blue bar, which are slightly lower through the first 11 months of the year compared to last year, and also under the budget. On the expenditure side, the actual expenditures for the first 11 months of FY21 are tracking higher than FY20, still tracking under the budget. On the water and wastewater revenue side, we're $2 million higher through the first 11 months of the year compared to last year, and also above the budget. We're looking good there. And likewise, on the expenditure side, we're seeing things track slightly higher than last year, but still under the budgeted amount with 1 month left to go in the fiscal year. Turning our attention to our past due balances. This slide shows our past due balances since last April, with the blue bar representing the current past due balance total and the orange bar representing the past due balances at the same time the previous year. The numbers here are continuing to trend in the right direction, down to $3.5 million in May. There was an in-person event for funding assistance at the Benton Convention Center on Saturday, which was well attended according to the organizers. And we're hoping that some of our customers were able to take advantage of that. And then on this slide shows the history of our delinquent accounts, which also went down significantly in May. So we're continuing to make progress in these areas, and we're hoping that with still additional. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Could you go back one slide? I was trying to not interrupt you. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
This is a question, but I do think pre-COVID, sort of static past due accounts was always hovered around $2 million, the past due balance, excuse me. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. Yeah, in the 2 to 2.5-ish, I would say, range.
Okay, so I wanted the commission to know that we're, historically not, this is never zero. So we're at 3.5. We're roughly 1 to 1.5 ahead of, above normal, which is, as you said, much better than it was even, 6-8 months ago. So just calling that out.
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle.
Thanks.
How are we looking on collections? This is Donald. How are we looking on collections for the past year?
Our collections are looking better. I don't have the exact percentage, but the percentage of delinquent accounts continues to decrease, and we'll know more here as the fiscal year wraps up. But I think Lisa Saunders will be presenting something here shortly, and she can chime in if she has any additional information on that. But I think we're all feeling pretty good about the progress that we've made, given where we were back in October, and the availability of funds for some of our customers through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and the rent, utility, and mortgage assistance programs that are still active.
Are we shutting off meters now, or are we still allowing them to be delinquent?
We're still shutting off. We are shutting off a small number of accounts. We're working with the collections division and the finance department to basically find the accounts with the highest balances, the folks that haven't been paying, and working to recoup those as best we can, given the resources we have at the Meter Services Division right now.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
If we need to, yes, Mr. Field, we may be refocusing that if we need to, if the balances don't continue to drop further.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll turn it over to Lisa Saunders for some updated balance sheet information.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Total and members of the commission. I believe Mr. Long had actually requested that we present a balance sheet for water and sewer and solid waste. So what you see before you is the water and sewer balance sheet at May 31st, 2021, as compared to June 30, which is our fiscal year end. So we have, another month to close out the year. And I'll just point out a few of the major differences. As you can see, cash or unrestricted cash at the end of May was $82,473,000 as compared to $74,500. We've had really good investment income in fiscal year 21. So you will see at the end of the year when we have a full set of financials, that has been a big contributor to our increase in cash. The receivables, $16 million compared to $14.6 last year. It's a point of time. We'll know better at the end of the fiscal year after all the adjusting entries have been made. I think we're still seeing double-digit delinquencies, but that's defined as accounts greater than 60 days. And I think what the collections folks are seeing, it's just people are paying slower, which is, making our collection rate higher, but we are eventually getting the collections in. Restricted cash is down to $37 million versus $52 last year. At the end of last year, we still had about $10 million of our 2017 revenue bonds that we've actually used at this point in time this year. If you go down to liabilities, I'll just look in total. Our liabilities have decreased $513 million versus $546 million. Most of that represents principal payments made on state loans and on water and sewer revenue bonds. And accounts payable is down 11 million versus 19. Again, it will probably increase before the end of June, by the time we accrue our contractor invoices for the end of the year. So bottom line, our net position is 617 million versus 574 million. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, and he already has solid waste. So we'll go through solid waste as well. Cash in the solid waste fund, 35.7 million versus 27.5 at the same point in time last year. Restricted cash, we don't adjust that to the end of the year, so it's exactly the same, 20 million to 20 million. But if you recall, that's where we set aside our closure and post-closure cost, has a corresponding liability if you go to the next section. Our total liabilities are 27 million, a little bit less than last year, this time of 28 million. Again, I don't have any concerns on either one of these balance sheets. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. If there's any questions, we'll move on to the next part, and that is an update on our advanced metering infrastructure program. Mike's going to give us that update.
Thank you again, Courtney. Item 14 on your agenda today is for the next phase of our advanced metering infrastructure program, which we're calling the Gamma phase. And we wanted to give you an update on the project and a little refresher as well. This graphic here just shows an AMI system where in the middle you see the wireless communication infrastructure that allows us to read meters remotely and send the information back to the utility offices and be able to share that information with our staff and our customers. We selected Census as our vendor, and the overall project scope was approved by the commission last June. The scope entails the purchase of 130,000 replacement water meters and new radio endpoints, the installation of those water meters and endpoints, the rehabilitation of related distribution system infrastructure to current standards. This includes meter boxes, lids, and other associated fittings, installation and maintenance of the radio network for 20 years. It also includes the installation and support for the AMI and analytics software systems for 20 years, integration of the AMI and analytics software systems with our billing system, the implementation of the WaterSmart customer portal, system-wide pressure monitoring to help with distribution system performance and modeling, and we're anticipating a 3-year implementation for the project. A little refresher on the AMI program budget. This slide shows a comparison on where we came in on the 20-year projected budget side with the census proposal on the right compared to our feasibility study estimated budget in 2016, which is on the left. As you can see, the census proposal was slightly higher, but did include $2.4 million for the Water Smart portal. You can also see that the cost in the categories changed as we determined that it would be best to go with the software and network as a service model, which rolls the capital and operating expense into a solely operating expense for risk mitigation, and it includes all hardware, software, and services for the 20-year period. That includes continual security updates and basically makes the system future-proof for the next 20 years. Then we wanted to make sure that we addressed the other meter-related infrastructure to ensure it was all standardized once the project was complete. So we added $6.2 million to the contract so the installers could address those issues while they were out in the field. That made the total contract $60.2 million over a 20-year period. And then we looked at the tangible benefits of the project, which include improved meter accuracy, deferring the replacement of meters due to Census's 20-year guarantee, and the savings associated with reduced meter reading operations over 20 years. And while that $92 million may seem high, it was actually a fairly conservative estimate when we put it together. On top of that, we also know that there will be additional intangible benefits, such as a reduction in calls to the call center, a reduction in the meter services staff performing rereads and investigations, improved asset management and distribution system performance, a reduction in delinquency rate, an improvement to the overall customer experience. And taking all of that into account, we did move forward with the agreement with Census and an initial deployment of just under 10,000 meters, which is underway. The alpha initial deployment was with 60 meters. We're all near the meter services division offices, and we also installed a radio base station there for testing purposes. The beta initial deployment was just under the 10,000 meters. The meter box inspections with lid replacements, those are complete in the beta area. There were just under 3,500 boxes that needed significant adjustment or replacement. Those have basically been completed. The meter installations themselves are ongoing. Over 5,000 have been installed with the anticipated completion at the end of next month. And the software implementation and integration activities are also underway. Here's a slide showing some.
Yes,
Mr. Stewart.
Where is the beta?
You go ahead.
Where is the beta installation or the trial being taken? What area in the county?
That's an excellent question. And Courtney, I don't think we have a map of that in here anymore. A lot of it is in Clemmons. There's some, it touches, a lot of it's in Clemmons and a lot of it is in Kernersville. It touches some of the city, some of the county, but it's in the southeast and southwestern portions of the service territory. And actually, we'll have a map and we can show you the beta areas and the upcoming gamma areas here in a little bit, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mike.
Certainly.
Mike, I've got.
So yes, Mr. Day.
We got what, 5,000 in the ground so far, approximately?
Meters? Yes, sir.
How is the service on these? Or if we have a problem, do our people have to go out and replace them, or does the meter people do it?
So right now, if there's an issue with one of the meters that's being installed as part of our AMI project, we would typically ask Census or their installation contractor, Concord, to go out and address that for us.
So our people don't have to fool. And once they're put in the ground, our staff does not have to go out and look at them or change them or nothing.
Once the project is complete, we will assume the maintenance of those and address any issues that we see after that. But we'll work with Census if there's.
Well, they got a 20-year warranty. Now, what does a warranty cover? Sort of like a car warranty. It don't cover the tires. But if these meters start giving trouble, do we have a written warranty? What the warranty actually covers?
We do. It's a 20-year accuracy guarantee, and the battery has a 15-year prorated guarantee. So basically, it's the best in the business right now, which is what we liked about it.
Well, what I'm asking is, once we got them in the ground, are they ours or are they the meter company that's doing all the installation? I mean, the warranty, what is, does our staff have to go back and work on it? My question.
Once the meters are in the ground, the meters will be ours. We will be the ones maintaining and needing to replace anything in the future. And obviously, if we pull one and there's an issue with it, we'll work with Census.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this slide here just shows some of the meter box conformance work. The left picture shows an older non-standard rectangle style meter box. The right photo was taken after Census replaced the box with a new conforming style box with a new antenna through the lid there. The next slide shows the same location as the previous one. Can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Uh-oh.
Difficulties. Hold on.
It's fine. The next slide is worth it. It's worth the wait.
Let me see if I can pull it back up. My power just went out or something happened. I don't know. Let me start it all over. Hold on. Bear with me.
Mike, this is Tom.
Yes, it's Griffin.
While she's looking for that, during the installation period for beta and in the rest of the system, how many folks have we got on our staff that are involved in following up with Census to confirm what they're doing? I mean, what kind of compliance testing are we doing?
So we're actually working through some of that with Census right now, and HDR is going to help us with some of that quality assurance, quality control moving forward. We're putting together a plan for how we want to address that based on what we're learning in the beta areas. So that's a large focus for us. But from what we've seen with they've touched almost 10,000 locations. With the surveys and the lid replacements, and then put in 5,000 meters, we've had very few complaints regarding the installation process so far, based on the number that we've seen, and we feel good about that. But we do want to get a better handle on the data moving forward and our access to it.
So we've not really had folks out in the field checking behind them periodically.
We have an engineer, one of Shang Chu Huffman's engineers is helping to coordinate that with Census and HDR. So he's been out in the field, and Allison Williamson, also our project manager, has been out in the field some to do some quality assurance.
Is HDR's assistance covered in the budgeting of this installation and all, or are we having to pay them extra?
It was in the scope of their proposal that was approved back in April.
Okay.
Okay. Can everyone?
Okay. So this slide.
Again, Mike, can you see the screen again?
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you, Courtney.
Okay.
So this slide just shows.
Been some issues, so just bear with me if it goes out again. Sorry about that.
Okay, will do. The left photo was, this is the same location as the previous slide. The left photo was inside of the old box with the old meter. The right photo is inside the new box with the new Census meter. And we are receiving photos like these and more for every installation. So you can see the vast improvement after the new installation. Continuing with the current project status, 10 out of the 29 radio base stations have been installed. We're anticipating full network deployment by the end of the calendar year. As mentioned, our program management and technical support services consultant, HDR, began work in May. Overall, things are going well, and Census has been a great partner so far. We are, Courtney, I don't know if you can go to the next slide. We're focusing on the AMR, or the drive-by reading method, while the network continues to be deployed. It's giving us additional time to ensure that the best-in-class security protocols are in place for AMI, which is a major focus for our team and Census. I did want to note that our meter services team is very pleased with the Census AMR system. It's a very powerful tool compared to what they've been using for their other systems. We are taking care to ensure that all steps are implemented properly for staff and customers. Basically, we're working at a pace to make sure that we're properly addressing all aspects of the program. We are having to adjust or replace more meter boxes in the beta phase than anticipated. We're planning to monitor that during the next phase, the gamma phase, and gather more information during the survey of the remainder of the system. So the agenda item for today includes 34,500 water meters, radio endpoints, and installation, the remainder of the system-wide box inspections, phase 2 of the application integration work, continued testing and validation of the network and software systems. The total cost was $11,633,800, and it will have an expected duration of 12 months. And we have a map showing the areas for the next phase of deployment in blue. The gamma areas are in blue. The beta areas are in gray. And I'll pause here for any additional questions.
Hey, Mike, it's Chris Parker. So back on a couple previous slides ago, you said a higher than anticipated number of the meter boxes under the beta phase have needed replacement. What exactly are you saying?
So what we're seeing there is that they were out of conformance. The boxes were out of conformance. They weren't our standard boxes. And so we've had to put in new boxes, or they were so in such poor shape, we ended up having to replace them or do major work to them. And so we don't know, and if you look at the map there, we don't know if that's going to be widespread throughout the rest of the territory. So that's why we're going to do the survey for the remainder of the system as part of this next phase. So we'll have a much better idea what we may encounter as we move into full deployment for the box conformance work.
Okay, so let me kind of understand. So are these the meter boxes that are currently in the ground? Or are you saying
Correct.
Meter boxes?
They are. The meter boxes that are currently in the ground, when we're going out to inspect and put a new lid on in anticipation of the meter installation, we're finding that the boxes are an old non-conforming style to our current specification. And so as part of this, the intention was to get everything up to our current specification once the project was complete, so that we've got uniformity throughout the service territory, and anything new will meet that specification as well. So we would be current and stay current, is the intent.
So does this have some possibility of increasing the cost?
It may. If what we find in the survey, and we'll get you all that as soon as we have visibility on what we're seeing. But as you know, Mr. Parker, we inherited systems in Clemmons, Kernersville, Walkertown, elsewhere. So we knew there would be some boxes that would need to be changed out. We're unsure at this point what that looks like throughout the rest of the territory, based on the small sample size.
And just one final question on this. That picture you showed, you had an existing lid that was a square or rectangle. and then you had the new one, which was more kind of oval. So
Correct.
Did that mean that those are two different meter boxes?
So the one on the left it's got a ring of concrete around it. So they pulled that out. That's a non-standard box. We couldn't put the new lid on there, so we put a whole new box and the lid on there.
Okay. So any idea on the percentage that you're guesstimating on? And I can't hear you.
Oh, we can't hear you now, Mike. We're having all kinds of technical issues today. Nope.
Yeah, that's a little worrisome. I know every box on my street looks like the one on the left.
Yeah, and I think so part of this is being funded out of the water distribution system funding, things like this. I like to look at it. You know, we're doing a collection system improvement program where we're going through the collection system. Part of this, to me, is more of a distribution improvement program. I mean, so while we're out there touching every single connection, putting in a new meter, we're also looking to see what other issues we find, whether it's the meter box or whatever. I mean, we're finding all kinds of different, you know, issues issues because we hadn't had a program like this where we're going through and actually looking at every single connection. So I like to think of it as a distribution improvement program, more so than just an AMI program.
I got a
So
question.
in that, go ahead, Harold.
Well, you know, we're having a little technical difficulty right now with the Zoom meeting, and all this stuff is put in the air. I'm just wanting to say, how much trouble are we expecting with these water meters? You know, this is real money to us. And Zoom meeting, we're in technical land that we're in. I just think we just need to go slow and easy because this thing's going to get more technical as we go along. And we're having trouble right now with the Zoom meeting. What are you going to do with the water meters? That's my question.
Can you all hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you, Mike.
Okay. So, Mr. Day, we do have the contract we have with Census puts that burden on the performance of the network and our ability to get reads puts that burden on Census, and that's part of why we chose the software and network as a service model that we did.
So, Courtney, to your point earlier about AMI versus distribution. So, in terms of a budget impact, if we are finding other distribution problems and solving them while we're doing the same service, where does that budget hit?
So, either Mike Corso or Mike Stover, I can't remember exactly what we're calling it, but it is the distribution.
We have a distribution system improvements program, which is helping to cover the related meter box work, and then we're also planning to address any major service line issues that we run into, and this will all tie into the lead and copper rule as we move forward with having to address additional service lines. So the distribution. This is just one piece of our distribution improvement program that we're trying to address with the work that's primarily related to meter infrastructure.
Okay.
That's part of this project. Any other questions?
Right there, actually, right back there. So if I go back to one with the map, so I presume yellow is yet to be done after gamma is completed?
That is correct.
And, you know, eyeballing that looks like it's about 50%. Yellow is about, I mean, so what after this vote today, what percent are we through the project?
We'd be a little less than 40%, I believe, Mr. Tuttle.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm sure the yellow is more density there than other outlying communities. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next is our agenda. And so I guess on the, we had scheduled a break. I know we didn't take one last time, but I just want to be mindful since we've been meeting right at an hour, if we want to break or keep pushing through.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
All right. Sounds good.
Take a break?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Okay, keep going.
All right, Mike, you're up again.
All right. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm up again. Here we go. Item number 3 is the one operations item, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing execution of various agreements regarding proposed water and/or sanitary sewer improvements to be installed within various developments. This month, we have 4 developer agreements with a total of $853,760 for water, $180,840 for sewer. Okay, moving to the finance items with item number 4, which is consideration of a resolution requesting that the City Council of the City of Winston-Salem authorize the sale of a portion of a lot located at 3336 Old Salisbury Road. The city owns a 3.39 acre lot at the entrance to the Old Salisbury Road construction and demolition landfill located at 3336 Old Salisbury Road, and has received an offer to purchase the southern portion of the lot containing approximately 1.1 acres for incorporation into a planned 20,000 square foot retail building site. The offer is for $150,000 for this portion of the lot. The prorated tax value is approximately 1.1 acre. Of this approximate 1.1 acre portion is $16,000. All required buffering, landscaping, and fencing related to the landfill will be maintained, and the entrance to the landfill will not be encumbered. The sale is contingent upon the successful execution of an agreement documenting the buyer's commitment to install plantings and fencing, and acknowledgement of the presence of a landfill as a neighboring land use. Staff recommends approval.
I might add that I wasn't aware until I visited with Courtney that the area immediately to the south of the red lot is already going to be developed and to retail and others. And so I thought that was relevant.
Is there?
Yeah, if I could say something too, I'm always against selling buffer property.
Me too.
Land. and in this case, there's been a lot of Jan and staff and consultants have all done some extensive studies, I think, on the groundwater gradients and all. And I think in this case, it's not, probably will never be an issue, but I just want to caution in the future, we got to be careful with selling properties that are potentially buffers for our facilities. But in this case, and there's like I say, you're going to be developed below that. There's other issues there, but I just want to hesitate about ever selling properties. Have to look at it as extensively as Jan and her group did.
Yeah, and I guess I appreciate the review of that, but I feel the same way, Hugh. I mean, to give up property, I mean, unless there's some strong reason we just need to. Is there a strong reason why we need to give it up?
To answer your question, no, there's not. There's not a strong reason to give it up, or I guess to keep it, other than to have that buffer.
Buffer, right.
And we, the agreement that the attorneys are working on is that they would agree to acknowledge that there is an active landfill near the site. They would have to agree to the buffer requirements that we want, the new plantings that we would want in place. We have no need for this space right here other than for buffer. And you, as I mentioned, that's absolutely right. We don't normally sell the land. We are in the business of buying more property around our landfill, so it is a different direction. And I guess the main reason that we are in agreement with selling it is because they intend to develop this and just extend that development into this portion. They need a little bit extra space. So they're planning to develop this anyway. And, you know, we're going to have some retail there.
Look like you'd want even more buffer.
Yeah, I didn't, according, they're going to extend it into the hash mark, the retail spot.
Yeah, so that they need this space right here for their entire development. So, and Kirk, if you want to say anything else into that, I know you've been involved as well. But it's going to be all part of one development. This whole area right here.
And how is that zoned?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Are they going to have to get that rezoned if we were to sell it to them?
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the commission. I don't believe so. We'd have to look that up. I think that's zone commercial and or retail in that area already. What the map doesn't reflect is if you go slightly south to the next intersection, that's already developed into what they're proposing to put here.
Yeah.
And
so it does keep with the area. And I can't, disagree with the discussion regarding, don't sell off excess property if it's unnecessary. And in this case, we can't, the commission can't make any use of that property that would benefit the landfill other than providing, a buffer for the access road. We can't place any material there. We can't really build a facility there. So the price is excellent for the property. It'll bring in some economic development to that area of the county. And that's why staff's recommending it at this time.
Comment. If the commission agrees to do this, I trust that the issue with the deed, it would be memorialized on the deed as to what is involved behind as far as the landfill. In other words, the guy builds it and then he goes to sell it 5-10 years from now. The guy that buys it doesn't have a clue what's going on. So I just want to make sure that it's going to be real clear to everybody going down the road exactly what's happening.
Marilena, do you have any updates on that agreement? And can you speak to Mr. Griffin's comment?
Yeah, so I'm not actually the one working on the agreement, but the language that Commissioner Griffin suggests can certainly be incorporated into a deed so that it's in the chain of title and all subsequent purchasers are on notice. I think that's a great idea. Also, I know that the agreement is meant to contain and is being drafted to make sure that all the buffering we require is going to continue to be maintained. So we can certainly put similar language in the deed and shape it the way it suits us best.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay.
This is in the city limits, isn't it? Is the property in the city limits?
I don't know. It's right. It's really close to the Davidson County line, actually.
Yeah.
It looked like a stars in the blue there, but
That's right. That's right. And I will suggest this. So Jan obviously has been working on this much more closely, and has a lot more of the details. Since she's not here, if there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered, there's nothing wrong with tabling this one and bringing it back next month. If the commission does feel comfortable with moving forward with it, of course we can. But we can also pull it. I just, I want to make that an option because I know there's some things that I can't answer because Jan's been more involved with the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm inclined to that. There's just a lot to me, landfill, buffer, space, new development, all those things are, it's not valuable to us until it's of value, and that's a buffer. So that's our main reason for value most of the time as we look about land and space and how we're developing. So just to kind of make sure we just, on the commission side, I guess, really think through it. If everybody else is fine with it, then I'll vote okay, but it's just a question in my mind. Just, so.
Courtney, I'm hearing enough to warrant discussing this next time.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm looking on Google Earth right now, Wes, and there are residential and development a lot really close to the operating side of the landfill. What my question is going to be more construction road traffic at our entrance. Buffering not the landfill operations, just truck traffic. And Tom, I agree with your comment on perpetuity, and that's something we need to make sure that is worked out as well. So I think staff has got a couple good thoughts to think through before our July meeting.
Is there water and sewer there available? I'm sure it is if you're going to plan to do retail.
There's a restaurant right south and other stuff right, shopping center right south.
Well, water and sewer will help them a lot on not worrying about migration of underground water stuff. It's still, I feel a buffer is always a good thing. And if we have it, why give it up? That's just my feelings. I mean, there's plenty of other places to do retail stuff. They don't necessarily have to do it there.
Right.
I think Jan, she has a lot of information on the hydrogeological studies they've done there, which helped me a whole lot. I looked at a map and all, and I feel a lot better about it. But on the other side, remediation for groundwater contamination plume that goes to a property line is a heck of a lot more than the price of a piece of property. So.
Correct. Well, Marilena, do we need a motion to, how do we need to handle this one?
Well,
and you don't have to do it right now, but we can do it when we vote, but just tell the chairman how we need to proceed.
Why don't we have a motion to postpone the matter indefinitely, and then we'll need a second and a majority vote, and we can handle it that way.
Okay.
This is Wesley. I move that we postpone it indefinitely.
This is Alan.
I second that.
Okay, I got a motion in a second. Could I have a feeling there's going to be some folks that also are going to motion certain agenda items. Would that make sense to do that now, or would you like to vote on this separately?
Yeah, can we take it in order when we start the vote on all the items, and then we'll do that motion to postpone indefinitely when this item comes up.
Okay.
Got it.
No problem. Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to item 5, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing the acquisition of a vacant lot at the intersection of Frybridge Road and Winfield Street. In the 1990s, a dechlorination facility was constructed on Frybridge Road.
Hey, Mike, can I interrupt for a second? I am going to be the timekeeper here. Just realize that we all have all the items in front of us, and I think we need to somewhat speed through. I want to get all the questions answered, but I think we've all read and prepped for this. I want to save plenty of time for the closed session, please.
That is fine with me. I'll just we are looking to purchase a lot here for our driveway access. The lot is 0.48 acres, has a tax value of $37,500. Current appraisal is at $35,525. The owners agreed to sell it for $32,000. Staff recommends purchasing the lot to avoid possible future encroachment issues. And that's all. I'll stop there.
All right.
Mike, was there a survey issue with this lot initially?
Yes.
I believe that is the case with this issue. That's what happened, and we're coming back having to fix that on the back end.
And if I understand, there were opposing surveys.
Yes, I think we've been working on this for a while, and this was the best solution we could come to for us to get this, to straighten it out, get the driveway on our property, and so that the driveway was on our property.
Is there a liability to one of the surveyors involved in this?
I don't have an answer to that, Mr. Long.
Okay.
Does anybody know, have any more background on that?
I do not know. Marilyn, do you have a thought or opinion on that? I assume that.
When, Courtney, remind me, our facility's been there how long?
Since the early 1990s.
Okay.
It was there before this development, but we had the driveway probably on that property before they developed it. And if I'm not mistaken, Mike Stover, tell me if I'm wrong, but the developer of this subdivision owns this house and this lot, correct?
The developer of the, yes. I don't know about the house, the lot for sure.
The lot for sure. So basically, it hasn't been an issue, and he's let us kind of keep our driveway there. Well, I guess now he's wanting to sell. And we looked at the price to relocate the driveway, and it's $230-some thousand. It's a lot more expensive. And so the idea was, we'll buy this lot. We've talked to the Davidson County Planning Department. We want to try to subdivide it, donate the front half back to the subdivision, the HOA, or possibly this lot here, so that we just have the piece of land that we need to keep the driveway.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Item 6 is consideration of a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds to cover the cost of certain utility expenses related to the concrete street replacement project. Basically, the city's is replacing concrete streets. There's water and sewer work that needs to be done as part of this. It's actually primarily water. The work there is $196,800 that the utility would be paying. And in the interest of time, we could just ask questions for the remainder of the, there are questions for the remainder of the items, because we do have 8 or 9 more to go through.
I feel like such the grouch. I'm sorry, but I will follow your lead.
Mike can read the titles and then just ask.
Just the titles. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Read them. Here we go. Item 7 is consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of a utility agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for utility work related to the construction of the Northern Beltway from I-40 Business, US 421 to I-40. And there's the map. Okay, item 8 is consideration of a resolution awarding a contract for system-wide sewer rehabilitation, phase 3. There's the locations on the map.
And I encourage
Item
the
9.
commissioners to ask plenty of questions. I'm not trying to stifle any kind of conversation. Just wanted to be a little timekeeper.
Item 9 is consideration of a resolution awarding a contract for instrumentation and control services at the water and wastewater treatment divisions. Item 10 is consideration of a resolution awarding a purchase order for open channel flow monitors and maintenance for the wastewater collection system. Item 11 is consideration of a resolution awarding a purchase order for a mass spectrophotometer for the Swan Water Treatment Plant.
This is Chris Parker. I've got a question about the bid cost between the low bid was 128, the high bid was 230. That seems like a pretty broad range.
Mr. Parker, I did speak with our purchasing director, Jerry Bates, this morning. Jerry, do you want to follow up on that for Mr. Parker?
Certainly. Good afternoon, commissioners. This item, to be real frank, I had to check back with utilities on this item as well. And we did, I will say that the primary reason for this has to do with the extendable warranties and service agreements over the next 3 years. As an example, Perkin-Elmer Health Services, the unit that we had and no longer use came from that company. And it appeared to our utility staff who checked references, and by the way, they did check references and found the references to be very positive utilizing this particular unit. The difference was primarily in the cost associated with the extendable warranties. In the area of Perkin-Elmer was about $31,000 to cover 3 years. So in essence, about $10,000 a year. Whereas Thermo Fisher was almost $65,000. It was double the price, and the same with Adjourn Technologies. Their warranty and service costs over the next period of time was substantially higher. Now, I will also say, apologize for that. I will also say that the unit prices were pretty substantially different as well from the low bidder to the high. Staff believes in having experience with Perkin that they didn't want to lose the opportunity to have this particular unit with our utilities group. And therefore they really got aggressive with their additional costs that would be supported over the next amount of years that we would keep that device. With all expectations, we'd have that device for a minimum of 10 more years. So I think that the thought process there was that they went low on their warranty costs and service costs over the year because they're quite confident in their unit.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Okay. Item 12 is consideration of a resolution requesting that the City Council of the City of Winston-Salem accept a North Carolina Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan for the Nielsen Water Treatment Plant Modernization project.
I will add here, I'm sorry, Mike. I do want to add here that we did have a bid opening last Tuesday, and we only had 2 bidders, so we could not open bids. And so we re-advertised the minimum days, and we'll have our next bid opening this coming Wednesday. So on this project, we pre-qualified construction contractors, and we had 4 or 5 that we pre-qualified. Just recently, the other 3 have had, they've committed to other projects, so they couldn't bid. So we're down to 2. Just wanted to keep you all updated on that.
Thanks, Courtney. Item 13 is consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering agreement with Hazen and Sawyer for design, bidding, and construction administration services for the evaluation and upgrade of the wastewater lagoons at the RTLH wastewater treatment plant. Item 14 is consideration of a resolution approving a purchase order with Census USA Inc. for task order 2 for the advanced metering infrastructure program. Item 15 is consideration of a resolution approving an engineering agreement with Highfill Infrastructure Engineering PC for design, bidding, and construction administration services for the Clemmons sewer fall project. Map, you can see the map there. And item 16 is our planning and policy item, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing execution of a sewer extension agreement between the Winston-Salem Forsythe County Utility Commission and the Village of Clemmons.
You have to excuse me for my ignorance on this one. I was trying to decipher if the monies from Clemmons would already be like escrowed before we start that project or not. Is that, I'm not even saying that right, but
So we have a reserve fund with the Village of Clemmons where we hold the money for them. And so we won't, per the agreement that we're working on, we will deduct, I believe the agreement says we'll deduct 50% prior to construction, like once we award a contract, the PO, the construction PO. And then at the end of the project, when construction is complete, we will take the money from the reserve for the rest of the amount that they owe to us. So we have the money in our possession. It's just about deducting it from their account, moving it from their account to our other fund.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mike, thank you for that overview. Well done.
I'm sorry, this is Charles Wilson. I had a quick question on 16.
Yes.
Forgive my ignorance. I thought it was typically the case that private developers who had developments in mind typically bore the costs of extending sewer mains and water and all that. But in this case, it says there's a proposed new development. Is that not a private?
Yes, that's a great question. So this is similar to what we've done in the past, and we have an oversized main policy. So basically, if a private developer needs, our minimum sewer line size is an 8-inch. So for their development, they need an 8-inch line to serve the particular development. They would be required to extend that 8-inch. If we look at it and say, we, instead of an 8-inch for future growth and for that to serve that bigger basin, we think a 12-inch is needed. So while the developer's installing the 8-inch, let's go ahead and upsize it to the 12. So we will pay the difference between the 12 and 8-inch. So that's what we're doing here. The developer in this case is the Village of Clemmons, and they've got a side agreement with the actual developer that's developing this new community. But our agreement will be with Clemmons, and basically Clemmons will pay the cost for an 8-inch sewer extension, and we'll pay the difference.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions from commission members? Okay, we have 16 agenda items plus agenda item number 17, for which Mr. Curtis will offer us a motion a little bit later in this meeting. That was the hint, Wesley. So are there any agenda items 1 through 16 that commission members would like to pull and discuss separately? And of course, I'm remembering agenda item 4 we have to address.
I'd like to pull 14.
This is Charles Wilson again. I don't necessarily want to pull it for separate discussion, but I just think I have to recuse from 15.
Okay.
Chairman Teller, do you want me to stop sharing my screen? Is that easier, or do you want me
Sure,
to?
let's do that. Yeah, no, I think. And Marilena, does Mr. Wilson have to explain why he's recusing himself for 15, or can you just do that?
Well, I was going to ask, is it a matter involving a consideration of the commissioner's financial issues or anything of that ilk?
I suppose so. We have a lease with Highfill Engineering. They lease their office space from our company. So,
so
I felt like it might be if I vote to grant them a contract that helps them pay their lease, then.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, we'll have you recuse yourself then.
Any other? Okay, so I'm going to ask that we combine this into 2 motions. I think first, unless someone disagrees, I think I would entertain a motion to table agenda item number 4 and to pull item number 14 for separate discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay, any
I'm sorry,
discussion
who's second? I'm sorry.
Wesley Curtis,
Dwayne.
Wesley, Dwayne, either one.
Anybody?
Okay, so this is tabling agenda item number 4 and discussing agenda item number 14 in a separate discussion. Roll call vote. Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin. Mr. Griffin. Hang on.
Yes.
There. All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Younger.
Yes.
That motion passes. I now entertain a motion to recuse Mr. Wilson from agenda item number 15.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Parker, Mr. Griffin, moved in second. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Younger.
FEI, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, can bring your first initial last name, please?
Alan, did you say yes?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Short,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Ms. Hines.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis.
Yes.
Okay. I would now entertain a motion for approval of agenda items 1, 2, 3, 5 through 13 and 15.
I make a
So
motion.
moved.
I think it was Curtis and Parker.
Correct.
Nope. Who made the motion?
I did. Parker.
I second it.
Okay, Parker and Day. And we also understand, Mr. Wilson, that if you are voting yes, you're not voting on agenda item number 15.
Yes.
Voting yes or no on this motion. Well, first of all, any discussion? Okay, Mr. Curtis.
And Randall, it's Chris. I just want to clarify, you did say 15 and 16.
I'm sorry if I didn't. I should have. Yes. We're going through 16, recusing Mr. Wilson on 15, not voting on 14 and 4. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
There's a lawyer in there somewhere, Chris. Okay, we heard a vote of affirmative for Mr. Curtis. Mr. Day.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Ms. Hines.
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
And Mr. Younger.
Yes.
Thank you. I believe the last remaining item to discuss is I would entertain a motion for the approval of agenda item number 14. We'll have discussion afterwards. The motion.
This is Wesley Curtis. So move.
Dwayne Long.
We have a motion we have a motion and a second, Mr. Curtis and Mr. Long. Any discussion of agenda item number 14?
My question on number 14 is, I'd like to have more time to check these 5,000 or 6,000 meters we got in the ground before we continue on spending this kind of money. I think we got a lot of problems coming up with them. That's my only, I just want to voice my opinion that everything's shiny and pretty don't mean it's good.
Other commission members care to make comment? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Yes, sir, Mr. Griffin.
Well, I'm just going to say, Harold, what kind of questions are you concerned about? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, the thing about this electronics, everything you got in your house, you change it every year or two. And these meters are going to be 20 years. What is the liability for us getting our money back on the water we're selling? I'm just seeing too many problems with it because I'm in the electronics business. So I'm just trying to put my input in of electronics. I know the background of. They sell them good, they look good, but technology, when your computer in your office goes down, can you fix it yourself? No, you got an IT man. So I'm just saying we're getting too fancy. I think we ought to go another year before you go the rest of the way, because we hadn't had them about a year and a half, 2 years in the ground. Have we had problems with them? Who's fixed them? And I just think we need to have some long-term, this company's been around a pretty good while selling, but yet your computers in your office have been around a pretty good while.
So is your concern an immediate concern or a concern that's going to happen 5 years from now?
5 years from now, and we've got all this invested.
Then you're not going to know unless you put them in the ground and let them run for 5 years.
Well, I'm going to say let's let what we got in the ground, let them run, see how they hold up. That's my question.
Well, then it's going to be like the Nielsen water treatment plant. We wait 3 more years to put the rest of them in the ground. It's going to cost you another $10 million over what you already.
That's the balance. You got to look at it.
Well, I'd rather spend it fixing them than spend it waiting. So.
Well, as long as they fix them at their cost is another thing.
All right, there you go.
Mr. Mike, would tell us again about this as a service versus a buying equipment.
Yes, Mr. Tuttle. Basically, we are, Census is guaranteeing the performance of the network and the system over 20 years. The availability of reads, that is in the performance of the contract. And if there are issues with the meters themselves, they would be under warranty for an extended period of time. This Greensboro is recently going to a Census system. The radio technology has been used for AMR since the 70s. So it's not a new technology. It's been proven in the electric, gas, and water industries to work and be successful. And to Mr. Dave's point, we want to be very careful, and we are being slow and methodical about how we're implementing this. And it is our intent to nail this for you all, for our staff, and for our customers. So we feel like we've taken into account all of that through the contract and through these approval processes and through the incremental process we're taking to do the implementation.
Cool, good. Other commission members have any thoughts or comments? I'm not sure which order I'm going in, so I'll go alphabetical. Mr. Curtis, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
No.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Hines? Ms. Hines, you're
Yes.
Ms. Hines?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
I will say I tend to agree with Harold, but I will say yes. Go with it.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Mr. Younger?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Patrice, that is one opposed, the rest affirmative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you for that. Good discussion. Courtney, Marlena, are we ready for agenda item number 17?
Yes, we
I
are.
believe so.
Mr. Curtis?
I move that the Winston-Salem Forsythe County Utilities Commissions go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consider and give instructions to its attorneys regarding the handling of claims by MWH Contractors Incorporated and Larry L. Callahan and Betty A. Callahan, and to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Am I correct that we need a roll call vote? Thank you, Mr. Parker. Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes, please, Commissioner.
Bah humbug. Okay. Mr. Younger,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Ms. Hines. Vine, you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and Mr. Curtis.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. To all those staff that are leaving us, thank you for the good work that you're doing for our organization, our community. Hope you have a great week. open session. Any commission
hold on.
members have anything?
Hold on just
Sorry?
a second. Chairman Tuttle. Gail or Larry, I guess, are you streaming again? We good? Okay. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Gail. And we are now back in open session. Any commission members have anything they would like to bring?
I'd like to thank Patrice going the extra mile this morning and getting me a booklet for today's agenda. She did an extra mile, and I thank her for it.
You're welcome.
Well, Donna, we all wish you the very best. I'd like to, I know everyone joins me in thanking you for your service and thank you for all your time and good
Again,
efforts.
as I said, it's everything that you do in life is a learning experience, and there's good parts of it and there's bad parts of it. And there's been good and there's been bad.
Any other commission members? Hearing none, Mr. Day.
I'd like to make a motion that we go somewhere else besides here.
Is that a motion to adjourn, Commissioner?
Yes, it is.
Motion to adjourn. Yes.
This is Wesley. I second that motion.
Okay. Okay.
Patrice, one more time.
Yeah, Mr. Curtis.
Yes.
Mr. Day.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes,
Ms. Hines.
yes.
Mr. Jernigan.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
And Mr. Younger.
Yes.
And the roll call of
Thank you.
Congress.
Thanks, everyone. Courtney.
Y'all have